Welcome back, Smutterflies.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday indeed.
Oh, we're kicking off our really, really silly few weeks where
Ah,
lots of silly things are happening.
yeah,
And technically, when we're recording this, they've all happened.
yes,
So we have to sort of pretend that it hasn't happened, but it
yeah.
has.
So if and when you listen to our Danielle Jensen episode,
And our Raven Kennedys.
no, oh, who Raven is it?
We've done the intros for both of them, I
I don't
think.
think we did Danielle's.
Oh, did we not? Maybe
No,
we just did
I
Raven.
said, why are we doing intros and outros when they're
Okay.
not coming out for so
Yeah.
long? So we haven't done Danielle's, but
Okay.
we have done Raven's.
Okay.
So when you listen to the Raven episode and we're talking about reading books like that we've actually already covered on the podcast,
Yes.
and you're like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Yes.
It's just because we recorded out of order. It's been a little bit of a hectic time.
It's just because we've had so many that have wanted to record at a
Yeah.
specific time, so we've just done them all in basically we were 5 for 5 the other week, and
Yeah, B was shouting at me,
Sam was
saying,
cracking the whip,
saying that I was working her too hard.
she was working me too hard.
But yeah, so if you listen to the Raven, just sorry.
Yeah. And also, if you listen to next week's episode and you're like, wait, what you've just read is the exact same as next week.
Yeah.
Time.
Time.
We essentially are time lords in this podcast. Time is not linear.
We jump around all over the place.
Yes. So last 2 weeks we've been doing Phantasma and Enchantra. This week we are sitting down with the one and only Kaylie Smith, and not to be jumping ahead because we have done this interview at the time of recording, but I am obsessed with her.
She was amazing.
I know, the
And-
coolest
and a
person.
cat.
Oh, I know.
Fable came and jumped
What are
on
they called?
camera.
Fable and
Poet?
is that what they're called?
Fable and
They have an Instagram.
yeah, I'm sure it's Poet.
Is or Poe? Not Poe?
No, Poet, I
So
think.
cute.
We follow their Instagram.
Oh,
yeah.
I'll have to have a look.
Yeah, I'm sure it's Fable and Poet.
Oh, they're so cute.
Yeah, Fable was lush.
But she's the coolest fucking
Oh my
person
God,
in
I
the
was
world.
obsessed.
I know.
I think
know.
Oh, will she listen to this episode?
Oh, why were you going to be weird?
Yeah.
She did listen to our Enchantra, no, our Phantasma episode. She told us, and I was like, oh, sorry.
I text B while we were on
Oh,
an
you
interview
did. It
with
came up
her,
on my phone, yeah.
saying she is so fucking fit.
I don't think that's weird.
Okay.
Well, no, I don't think that's
Yeah,
that weird.
I text B while we were interviewing Kaylie, like, she is so fucking fit. I was
know.
starstruck.
She was so fucking cool. I know.
Amazing.
So enjoy. We had a fucking blast.
Yeah.
And
If you're watching on YouTube or Patreon, then you'll get to see Fable as well.
yeah, so cute.
Hi, I am Kaylie Smith. I am a New York Times bestselling author of dark fantasy and romance books, usually with sort of a paranormal edge. And yeah, I am so excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you.
Yes. Yeah, we are. And like we were just chatting before the recording started, we've both been in our Wicked Games era, and it's the perfect books to be doing at this time of year during the burst seasons,
Yeah.
the best.
Absolutely great timing. I always recommend October. Perfect start.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, to kick us off, can you tell us a bit about your writing journey and what led you to create the Wicked Games series?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I guess we'll start at the beginning. I always knew I wanted to be a writer since I was 13. It was always a desire, and I had been writing off and on, but I didn't write my first novel until COVID, and I was stuck inside and finally could settle down because long story, but I ended up getting an art degree in college instead of a creative writing degree because I didn't like my professor. He got a very strongly worded email from me after I hit the list. But it was a really bad experience. So I got an art degree, something I'm also super passionate about. I love art history so much, and it's something that I think was actually really great for me to do because I think it's helped in my writing. But that means that sort of furloughed writing any sort of full-length novel for a while. And then I wrote A Ruinous Fate, which is my YA debut. And I sold that series, and it's very witchy, second world fantasy, very queer. And I was just not having the sort of I don't know how to describe it, but like I really wanted to get into something grittier. I wasn't having the full experience of what I wanted to write in YA necessarily. And so I was like, oh, let me, while I'm writing this series, let me maybe dabble in like an adult concept. So I could, because I really wanted to write about mental health and stuff like that. And, but I wanted to do it in a way that I could really get into the very, very dark side of things. So I started coming up with the concept of phantasma from a few things, actually. I pulled out some old notebooks from my art history classes. I was obsessed with Dante's Inferno. We read it as part of our art and literature. And I mean, I was like, this is so sick. I love it. And so I was like, imagine a book based on the 9 circles of hell. And so I started putting that together, and it just, for me, went really hand in hand with like the psychological horror aspect of OCD. So it was like, oh, finally, like this is sort of the thing that I feel like I've been culminating to creatively. And I pitched it to my agent at like 2 in the morning. I was supposed to be working on something entirely different, and I was still in the middle of my YA series, but she loved it just as much as me. And we were like, okay, this could be like a whole world. I love trials and games. I know sometimes people get like fatigued on them, which is so fair, but like if there's a trial or a game in a book, I will eat it up every time. So it was like, I love the concept of being able to do a bunch of different kinds of games in one sort of world. So that's sort of how it ended up coming about. Yeah.
We are both also huge lovers of trials in a book. So like we eat it up every single time. Can't get enough of it. Anyone who says it's overdone, I'm like, no, give me more. Like
Never, never
And these are
enough.
like, I'm like, they're cyclical. So like, you might be tired of it now, but then they'll be there. So like, you can come back and revisit when you're ready for them again.
I love it. Eat it up. And so it kind of like leads into our next question you were just discussing, about you wanted something like a bit grittier to go with like the kind of real world aspects of like mental health in the book. So you've been open about your experience with OCD, and Phantasma includes an OCD element in Ophelia's story. How did you approach representing it sensitively, and what challenges did you face while doing so?
Yeah. So I actually get this question a lot, or like a version of this question, because I think some people are like, was it really hard or like emotionally taxing? But I'm not gonna lie, I just did it. I did not think so nothing's monolithic, right? I think no matter what you're writing. And I have gotten the response from some people like I didn't do it well enough, not the OCD part, but like maybe how things wrap up in the mental health department in the book, or like I'll, which I think is a valid opinion, like if that is how you feel and that is in your experience. But then I get flooded with DMs about how many people thanking me for the representation, that it's exactly how they experienced it and how um things have progressed in their life as well. And so I think because nothing is monolithic, I was very, very set on being as true to my personal experience as humanly possible. So I didn't really think about it in any sort of aspect of it being hard or difficult to do, or that I wasn't doing it sensitively enough, because there's a great responsibility, I think, when we're writing stuff like that, and I wanted to take that responsibility, but again, keeping as authentic to my experience as possible. So everything I wrote, like absolutely like has happened to me, or someone very close to me that I've also has the same condition that we talked in depth about. And I think on that front, like I'm very proud of it, because like I understand like maybe the situation of it goes quiet when Blackwell is around, or like that might bother some people. But the only thing I can give in reference is it's a stress like disorder. So
Mhm.
the more stressed you are, the worse it acts up. And when I'm with my partner who I trust and he's around, it does quiet for me. And that is the experience that I have. So like I really loved the idea of like putting the things that have worked so well for me and my partner in Blackwell and Ophelia. And I think a lot of people also related to that, because it was like, nice to have people around and to know that like you can be in love and very honest about what you're going through with your partner, and it can quiet things down, and that doesn't mean that you didn't do the work on yourself, it doesn't mean they're fixing you, or if they go away you're worse. It just means that partnership is working for you in a healthy way. And so that, like, that whole experience was just, it's super important for me to capture, I think, in the story that I wanted to tell. So yeah, I genuinely just wrote it down, and I always say it's only like 20% of what I've experienced. Like her symptom, I could have gone worse. We could have done it, because it's constant. It's an enduring, constant thing. And I tried to put that on the page, but edit it with my editor in a way that also didn't like impact the storytelling in a negative way, because we still have to tell a story, right? It's still a romance. She's still going through games. Like we have to get stuff done. But yeah, I'm really proud of the work I did on that front. It's so special to me that I think the response that I get from readers still, and yeah, it's just very touching. So
I think we talked about it in the episode in the greed trial where she's knocking on the floor, and we were just like, it's so like harrowing, and you can feel the stress that she's under. Like neither of us suffer with OCD, but you could feel the stress she was under during that trial.
yeah, exactly. I think in that too, it's like if you don't have any experience with it, I really wanted to be able to like put you in that experience. And I think that's uncomfortable sometimes, or I think it's even uncomfortable to say that maybe the way things wrapped up, or how she handles it maybe isn't the way you would, or how you think is the healthiest bit, because I really want to show the human part of her. Like she's still a human, and she doesn't have it all figured out by the epilogue, but to me that's also part of that authentic experience. So
Hmm.
yeah, I did the best I could, and I'm always, I love when people have different reactions, or different conversations about it, because we're still having conversations about it, which is the point. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think as well, like I think we spoke about it in the episode. If not, we definitely spoke about it. But I think as well, it being, towards the end when Ophelia realizes like it manifests as something in one of like the haunts, I guess.
Hmm.
That but then it ultimately doesn't become a sort of like, I guess like a paranormal character in its own right. It is the reality. And I think that's what, again, as somebody who maybe hasn't experienced it, but when I was reading it, to as much as I can empathize with it, it was just really, and this is me, who am I, but like I felt so well done, because it still gives you the reality of what she's dealing with. In ultimately, it is a fantasy novel, so like do you know what I mean? Where do you like balance the element of, without it becoming like, oh, it's a, becoming its own like entity, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I think, and that's also like the ending, is, I love the way it happened, and I'm proud of that part too, because it is that blurred line. It does make people question, wait, was the point of that it does physically become real because of the house? Or was that entirely a metaphor of the house manifesting her worst fear? And like not really knowing where the blur of that line lands, like which one of those is the correct answer, which is the entire point of how it was written, right?
Hmm.
And so I think that's definitely up for interpretation in that way as a reader. But I think that's so fun too. And yeah, that was absolutely what I was trying to capture. Of, it doesn't necessarily need to have been a physical thing. Like she was hurting herself at the end there, because that was her worst fear. But also, was it actually ever real? Was she actually chasing something? I think that's what I want the reader to question for
Hmm.
themselves. So yeah, no, I thought that was very astute, because I think that the ending is sort of where people are like, they have questions or a lot of discussions there, and that's exciting for me personally. Some of it's supposed to be ambiguous, so
Hmm.
Mhm.
Switching from Ophelia to Genevieve. Genevieve is a plus size protagonist. How important is representation in body size, mental health, any shape or form to your work, and how do you incorporate it organically?
oh my gosh, I mean, I don't think, I always say I'm writing, like, if you're just reading my books because you want a fun, spicy romance, I think that is perfectly fine. I think we all need different things at different times when we're consuming art. But if you want to scratch beyond the surface of stuff and find stuff in my work, I really try to make it a point to have it. Genevieve, so Genevieve is actually my second plus size heroine. My YA series also has a plus size main character. And I mean, I grew up plus sized. I still am. It's just my reality. And it is so frustrating to be like, we can't be romanticized. Or I think it's insulting to the love interests that they wouldn't be interested, or they're not capable of being interested in different body types, or people with different sort of mental health or at different places in their life. And so, I mean, like, you know, I think also dating my husband, who is very straight sized, like very muscular, and I think what people would consider conventionally attractive, and sort of always getting those looks of like, why is he with her, as if I couldn't offer anything else because I'm not their standard, their beauty standard, was really frustrating. And I was like, no, fuck this. Like, we're not doing this. That man loves me. And so when I was writing Genevieve and Rowan specifically, the way I always go about it is like, this is not a thought or conversation we need to have. Any thoughts that Genevieve has about taking up space is very much in the way that everyone else is an inconvenience to her. Like, she makes a comment that she's on the train and like her hips like hit the sides because the train's too small. This is not her problem. This is their problem. And it was never something I wanted to be an insecurity. And it's not that I don't think we can write narratives with insecurities, because I also do think that's a very real experience. But that is just so not in character for her. Genevieve knows she's hot. She is. And it was just never a question that Rowan would also, because like his frustration with her is that she's a little shit, and like nothing to do with how she looks. Like, she's gorgeous, he thinks she's gorgeous. That was never the issue. Of attraction was never going to be there. So yeah, I love doing that sort of thing. I think the organicness of it is truly just, I like me living in this experience. I think it's insulting that people think I think about my size all the time, especially because I love, like, this is a different tangent, but I love clothes. Like, I love fashion so much. It's my second love. I have curated, like, through blood, sweat, and tears, the perfect wardrobe. I do not wish to be smaller than I am. Are you kidding? I'm not giving up my wardrobe. Just for what? Like, and like, my philosophy has always been, I'm very healthy, and I love the way I look in clothes. I know how to dress my body. And I don't think about that 24/7. And I think it's always strange that people do think that we think about that 24/7. So that was sort of my goal with Genevieve, and her story. And again, another thing that I just think is very touching, that people they get so excited when they hear that she's a plus size main character. And in a way that makes me so sad, because I'm like, there should be more. It's just second nature. Like, it made so much sense to me.
I think you put it like so perfectly then, that it's not only refreshing to have more plus size characters, because like we don't have enough, like keep them coming, but also to have like you said about Genevieve, a plus size character that is not self-conscious, is not like working on herself or in any kind of like, I need to do the X, Y, and Z to fix this, you know, which unfortunately, like for a lot of plus size women, like certainly myself, like that is the reality you tend to grow up with, unfortunately. Not everyone, but like the majority. And we said this, obviously the episode hasn't come out as the time recording, but when we are talking about Enchantra, we both were like, she is a bit of us. As soon as you said about the train thing, like, no, the train needs to change, not me. I was like, yes. Like, at one point I think she says something to Rowan like, you need to be obsessed with me. Like, I'm not going to keep doing this stuff with you if you're not obsessed with me. And I'm like, you are talking my language, like you are my kind of woman. And yeah, I think like it's so refreshing, keep using that word, but to see a character that's like that, and her size, whatever it may be, isn't ever like a point of conversation. Like, she is who she is, and he thinks she's hot as fuck.
Yeah, because it's like, I think too, I'm a big believer. There's like a lot of conversations about like insta love or insta lust, and like a lot going into that. But I am one of those people that I think, you know, when you're attracted to someone right away. And I mean, like, and he was. And so that doesn't need to be a conversation of like, oh my gosh, you think I'm hot? Even though I'm like, that is never something that comes up because it's very clear. And which is why I love sometimes doing things with those sort of tropes. Also, I do love just writing tropes that people conventionally maybe don't like because it's fun for me personally to be like, I'm gonna convince you they're good. But yeah, I think that's such a big thing about Genevieve's character. It's just that she was confident always. I see like she has a lot of parts of me or like the younger version of me that I really, really enjoy as well. And I feel like, yeah, growing up, it was always like, you know, you need to be skinny or like whatever it is. And there was just like a point in my life, and it was when I started dating my partner, being like, he likes me. Why do I care about any of you? Like, what are you doing for me? So yeah, I was like, I'm gonna inject that right into Enchantra.
Yeah, and it was like a hug in a book for us, like reading about it, because I was like, B, she's got a soft belly, like she's not itty bitty, teeny weeny, like oh my gosh, yes, this is what I need to be reading right now.
Or like Ophelia, it's funny because like Ophelia's a tall girl, and that's also very fun because I'm like the height difference, like yeah, there's like 2 inches between her and Blackwell, but yeah, because I'm like, this is just the reality. I think sometimes we go so far in like a trend direction, and so I'm always like sort of looking at like on a character level what makes sense for that character and why, more than like like why am I making her height this, or like why am I making her plus size, like does this has this informed the character that she is and the character that she's become. And I feel like those questions are a lot more interesting than just being like, how do I make them the hottest people possible, you know?
And I think as well, like, and it's quite a frequently discussed thing, isn't it? Particularly in like the romantasy genre and well, romance maybe, is that like, well, why is everyone always hot? But then I think like I feel like I don't dispute that Genevieve isn't hot for 1 second. Like she's hot as hell. But like also I feel like sometimes it's like people's perception, right? So like that's Rowan's perception of her and her perception of herself.
Oh, for
Like
sure.
we're not yeah, so like and it's also I think comes from her like self-confidence. Like of course if we were to like bring every single character in the genre to real life, like people are gonna think, oh actually I don't think they're attractive. But in that's like everyday life. But I love that almost like her I wouldn't say just her attractiveness, but like it's her confidence, right? It's like her
Exactly.
like belief in herself that like, yeah, I'm hot as hell.
Yeah. No, it's so true. Okay. Also, I sort of, when people say stuff like that, I'm sort of like, do you want us to describe someone as ugly? What if I describe your features? Like, that's also, it is perception. It's like, obviously, the person that I'm describing is attractive to the secondary character here. So it's like, I would never describe them as anything but very attractive. But I do think, and like, this is something as an author, like, I grow in my craft with every book. I think there's ways to get more and more subtle about that, to being like, I'm like, we're describing physical features, but you can do so without a sort of we don't need to tell the reader, like I don't need to hold their hand to be like, these features are hot. I describe their features, and the reason you know they're hot is because the love interest finds them hot. So again, it goes back into that perspective, and that is just a craft thing that comes from reading and writing more and more and more in character work. So and I think that's also really satisfying. Like the more books I write, the more I learn about like, yeah, like how people operate and things like that. And for sure, because I think the biggest testament to this though is I'm not a blonde man enthusiast necessarily. But Blackwell is technically blonde, and he's the first place I went with this because I was like, yeah, like he's a phantom. This makes sense for Ophelia. Like I don't think we, even as writers, need to necessarily think every single person we like write is hot. I think it's fully perspective, like you're so right.
Yeah, 100%. Um, so were there any characters or plot threads that you had to cut, change, or rethink during drafting? How often do you deviate from your original plan?
Ooh, um Okay. There's so many different instances. I think what happens also, hold on, I will get back to this answer. My cat, she is chewing on my cord, so
Oh,
it keeps moving the computer. I'm so sorry.
Oh my
so
Um,
gosh.
cute.
Say hello.
I follow your cats on
Oh,
Instagram.
do you? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
absolutely, we do.
My goal is genuinely, I would love for them to be famous. I don't want anything. I don't want fame.
Just
But I
them.
think it would be really fun if they were. Like just
She's
so
lovely.
cute.
Oh my
she's
gosh.
such a
My
menace. Okay, so my answer to this is that writing a book isn't, I feel like, stop and go necessarily. It's fluid, right? So when things change or get cut, it's usually like I don't even remember doing it because it's just in the moment. It's just as we're going through and combing through stuff. But specifically, I think the endings in my book always remain the same. Like there's always an arc and a goal. How we get there can change. I tell the story a lot, but Enchanter was supposed to go to print, and like the day before it was supposed to go to print, I called my agent crying because I was like, it's not right. Like this cannot be the book that goes out. And it was already very, very late. And I felt terrible, but I was just like, it's not right. I like can do so much better. People deserve better. And I ended up rewriting like 80,000 words in like 2 weeks with my editor. And so that went through a hard change, but like the ending was the same. What happened was we just changed pacing, and we raised the stakes like throughout. So it's not like it morphed into something like entirely different. It was just better written. Like the pacing, I think, is what really makes or break a book as well. For Phantasma, Sinclair wasn't always there. I remember that very specifically. Like the first iteration of Phantasma, he wasn't, but he kind of ended up on page, a very important character. I love Sinclair. He's very polarizing, which I also love about him. But adding him, and then because I added him, there was this extra layer of the ending with the flashback scene specifically, which I had in there. There was always, that's what we were going to, because like spoiler, I love reincarnation as a trope, and we can get into that. But so like that was always Ophelia's character. Like she was always Angel, right? I love when people are like, is he just calling her his ex-lover's nickname or name as a nickname? But the ending of that is again slightly ambiguous because there's more to that story, which I will tell. But I like, people need to be like, what did this mean? Is she Angel? Like, how did the locket work? How did the soul get, if she is? Those are all questions that should be raised. So like, which is fine. But I know it makes the ending polarizing, which is like hilarious. And part of that though was Sinclair. He sort of ended up on this page for this like stakes and motivation of keeping Blackwell in the house and being like one of the only people who knows him outside of himself. And also the reason he had to exist is because I did plot all the things that happened before. So like all and everything that happens in future books as well. So like when I was writing Phantasma, there were already conversations of I would like to be a bigger world. I like intentionality in a series. Like, and this is no slight to anyone, but like personally as a writer, if I write myself into a wall and extend a series later, that doesn't feel as earned or as good to me. I don't like the idea of just adding stuff on because a series gets popular. I'd rather have, like, I wanted a full scope of what this could be and be really ambitious about it and leave breadcrumbs and Easter eggs from the beginning, which I did for the future things to happen in the book. And if they don't get published, they just don't get published. Like that's no big deal, you know. That's like we're ending each book's to be satisfying enough on its own. But because Sinclair came in, I ended up plotting like 15 books like for the whole thing, and it was a very necessary piece. And so yeah, he was a little bit of a surprise, and it has a ripple effect throughout like the entire series. But that's why I did it then, and I didn't wait to like after Enchanter to be like, hold on. I need more characters. So yeah, that's sort of how he came about. It's a little touch on the ending, which again, I know it's like it's really funny. Yeah.
We
That was
loved
a
him though.
long
Like,
answer. I'm so
No,
sorry.
no.
no, it's an
Good.
excellent answer. And we loved him. Like, I mean, say no more. He's a devil and he's hot. Like,
Hot.
yeah, like,
Also, kind of like that people hate him because he and Ophelia had like that sort of moment. Which I could also go on and on about because people pick my brain about that a lot because they really don't like the two of them, like what happened. But I was like, I feel like this is something we have to let go. I think this is a great growth tester of like internalized misogyny. Like, why they're not together. In fact, they cannot be together. They had an entire argument about it. And she stops Sinclair. Like, everything was consensual and she stops it. I don't understand why she's like villainized necessarily for possibly being with another man. Or like why we give like we don't give her grace that we give Blackwell very easily. So to me, that was a very important character moment. But it's so polarizing that either people hate Sinclair entirely or they're like, actually, like, he needs a happy ending because what the hell.
yeah. I can firmly say, like, you probably heard from, I think it's in Phantasma. Yeah, it must have been because it would have been in Enchanted when we were talking about it. Like in the trial where she kind of gets drugged with the sort of, and we say like we would have failed that miserably. Like everyone's hot and like I wouldn't, like Sinclair could have come on to me. I'd have been like, oh, game over. Like that. Like yeah, give us like I'm here for it. Like give me more of him. He's hot.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. Also, it's like really funny because the drinks that she took was not it wasn't sexual lust. It was bloodlust. So it's like her being attracted to everyone was just her being horny. Like
that's
like,
us.
It wasn't an aphrodisiac. In fact, the worst part of this is I think an Enchantra, which was an aphrodisiac, which is why Rowan was like, tie me to the bed. I can't touch this girl. Like it would be very bad. So yeah.
We loved it.
Oh, so good. I'm like, forgot about that scene, and now I'm just playing it in my head. I don't know if you're going to be able to answer the next question, but we're asking it anyway. What, if anything, can you tell us about book 3 in the Wicked Games series?
So it's my favorite so far. I can say that. I love the romance so much. It's something I've wanted to do for a really long time too. So it's really satisfying. I can say we get to spend time in hell, which is exciting. That's really kind of the only thing I can say, I think, because my team would actually murder me. but I'm very excited for it. And I wish I could have gotten it out sooner, but I'm like, there were 7 months between Phantasma and Enchantra, and that was very taxing.
No way.
Yeah, I'm like, and then I had 2 books come out. Like the finale of my YA series also came out this year, which is the longest book I ever wrote. That took so much out of me. So I was like, I just need like a tiny creative break, like a mental break. And then we're back on it. So, but I'm very, very excited. And I think people are going to be pleased. I see a lot of theories. I get a lot of DMs, requests, if you will, of whose story to tell next. And I think the majority of people will be happy. So I can't wait.
Ooh. We guess, I think, in Enchanter episode, right, Sam? We both guess what we think the next book is gonna follow.
What are your guesses?
What did we say? 7, right? I feel like that's who we said.
Yeah, you said 7, and then I said, well, what about Sinclair? And then we say about that last like scene where you say like a dark haired guy says, tell Blackwell I'll see him soon. And I was like, well, who is this hinting to? So we have three working theories at the moment.
I can tell you who that is.
Oh, is it Sinclair?
It is Sinclair.
Oh, okay.
I
yeah,
just
yeah,
wanted
that's
to
what
sound.
we
I was like,
said.
it's Sinclair,
Yeah.
definitely.
It's really fun. I mean, subtle on purpose, for sure. But it's really funny because people are like, "Who is this man?" And I'm like, "Did I make that too ambiguous?" I was like, "Oh no." But yeah, that's fully Sinclair. Any excuse to bring him up again, really.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we either went Sinclair or Seven. So
Yeah, I'd like 5 other theories to that, and that's I'm like, damn guys, the fandom's really trying to cook up what's gonna happen.
But I think as well, like in Enchantra, you get like obviously you get the Silver family, and you get this new host of like so many like I'm sure you could write a series for every single one of them. So like you now have such a wide plethora. So when we finished Enchantra, I was like, it could be anyone. I'm like, it could be any of them, and I read every single one of them. But I think we're saying 7 just because we're biased. But like, you know,
Oh, people love him. He was a character. He was not supposed to really be on the page. It was okay. So like when I'm writing 7, not 7 the person, 7 siblings. I mean, like that's a lot in one book to flesh out, especially when I have a main couple that needs to be very fleshed out. So originally it was sort of like giving a glimpse at the siblings and the dynamic as a whole, but then like really focusing. Grave is a very plot heavy point, and so is Ellen, who I love. And Ellen was so necessary to the story because God, we needed more female energy in there. And then 7 sort of literally that first scene where he walks on page, and I was like, oh no, he's gonna be a real problem. And he was. And he ended up that's something that did change. He ended up being in a lot more than I thought he was going to be, because he's very effervescent.
I say again, it hasn't come out yet, but in the Enchantra episode, I say like, I thought he was our MMC because she describes him as like, oh, he's like so handsome, and I'm like, well, and he's got like sucking on a lollipop of blood.
Yeah.
I'm like sold, like this is
I will
him.
say it's true though, because like again, that's like one thing that's like super fun to play with and set up is 7 is like very well known in general as like one of the like most handsome people in hell. And that is just funny to me, right? Because Genevieve was like, yeah, he's prettier than you, but that's not the person she's in love with. So yeah, I love doing stuff like that too. So that was really fun.
I feel like it could be about anyone, honestly, and we'd eat it up.
you could introduce a new person and we'd be like, yes, can't wait for their story.
I know. I like my goal too is a little bit of like liking the world so much and like the ongoing stuff that people are sort of like satisfied, like no matter who it's about. So that feels really nice. Thank you.
Love and loyalty are tested throughout the series. Which relationships, romantic or not, is the closest to your heart and why?
Ooh, I mean, I feel like the right answer is the sisters. I think, especially in the first 2 books, so much is very dependent on them, and I think not even necessarily together, because I think we see how different they are as people, and even the way they were raised. I always say like you might have been like born of the same parents, but you were not raised by the same parents. Like no one is. And I think that sort of like their dynamic was really important, because I wanted it to be from a place that they genuinely love each other so much, but they don't necessarily understand each other or know everything about each other, even though they're siblings. And I am an eldest daughter. I have a little sister, and it's definitely like it really does feel like we were raised by 2 entirely different mothers, and good, like pros and cons always, right? Like humans are humans. And I think like going into this, getting out how I felt being an eldest daughter was so cathartic. And then on the flip side, like trying to imagine maybe how another sibling feels in that way, and like getting into that headspace. So I think I really accomplished that. And I think by the end of Enchantra, they do understand each other a lot better and their differences, and I love them very, very much. But I also, part of me always wants to say Ophelia and Blackwell mean so much to me. And that is just from a place of, again, it's sort of that him loving her despite all the stuff in her head was such an important aspect. And it reminds me so much of my partner that even though like their personality, I always say like I try not to write direct influences into my characters. For me personally, I feel like it's lazy and I don't think it pushes my craft to just basically write someone I know on a page or put me into every single character. But I think naturally sometimes aspects of yourself, because you know them so intimately, end up in your characters. But like Blackwell and my partner are nothing alike, but it's like the way that he treats her, it's like very indicative of that in my relationship. And so that also warms my heart a lot. I love them so much. So, and then, and then I'm always like, oh, I feel bad because I didn't say Rowan and Genevieve. But Rowan and Genevieve are an experience that I personally am just like, dear Lord. that is a whole thing. I'm so happy that they're happy. But I'm like, it's just funny because like writing them, I don't get Rowan at all sometimes. He was actually a very hard character to write, because his motivations, and like I don't have that many siblings. I don't have any sort of like life or death motivations for like my parents or saving them from something. So like getting his personality correct, where he's sort of brooding and very like internal and like really likes quiet, I have no experience with that at all. So yeah.
I love that. And it's funny that you said the sisters, because I think it's in the Phantasma episode. I said to B, would you go into Phantasma to save your sister? And she's like, fuck no.
Listen, I wouldn't either though. And I think that's the thing. I think that's why they're so precious to me. Like building that relationship was so important, because it was like I really want to come across that they are the kind of characters who would do something like that. Which is so subversive to me. I adore my little sister. I'm not saying I would say no, but like, I don't know, girl. You made a choice. I don't know. Now why am I in it? like,
Yeah, 100%.
I'm like, oh, I don't know. Also, I just wouldn't survive. Like, then we're both dead. Like, who does that help?
Yeah, we said this as well. Like, neither Sam or I, if we went in with our sisters, like none of us are surviving that. Like, none of us are.
At all. Yeah.
So the mansion in Phantasma and the palace in Enchantra feel like characters themselves. How do you create settings that feel so alive?
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, I think going into it with that goal was like specifically helpful, because I knew I wanted them to be their own character, sort of like this almost sentient setting. But truly, it was just more, I think, when I think of world building and my voice and like how I build out worlds specifically, is I'm the sort of reader that I really do need to be grounded. I need to know where we're moving. It helps me a lot getting into a character space and like seeing what happens, because even like characters who are very different from me personally or whatever, like physically moving through a space with them, I think helps so much in connection to like see how their story unfolds. And because I felt that way, I was like, I want to make sure that these places feel like eerily real when you're reading them. So like the goal of Phantasma sort of being this tertiary main character was really important for the atmosphere of the book, because there was like a psychological horror aspect of it. Like I needed you kind of to get the same chill down your spine as Ophelia did when she's walking through a dark hallway and there's like a demon behind her. And so I think just craft wise, like writing everything out, over describing things, and then going back and not just physically like not just focusing on the physical edits, but like editing, like what is she smelling, is there a draft, what is she like, is the air humid, it's Louisiana, like all the physicality of it I think really helps bring it to life. And even though that was like the intention specifically with these settings and other books that I'm writing, I feel like that has helped my craft so much, because I've learned, like, even if the point isn't the setting to be another character, because sometimes I think that's very helpful to a book, and sometimes I think it's very disadvantaged to a book. It just depends what story you're telling. But I think overall it's helped my descriptions. So it was like such a nice exercise to sort of get in these spaces and be like, Enchantra is its own thing. Like the labyrinth is its own character, and how she's moving through it and how it affects their arcs. So I don't know if I actually answered the question, but yeah, I think it was just like sort of going into it with that intentionality, and also just editing, so much editing. I think that makes or breaks every aspect of a book, like whether it's like actually successful or not, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I think as well, like it was really interesting to see again going from Phantasma then into Enchantress, like the similarities and differences in because in Phantasma the house is much more of a literally like a sentient being. And in Enchantress you do have some of that, but it being more kind of like, you know, you have much more of a observer kind of view from, you know, it's more of like a crowd watching as opposed to the house watching.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really interesting to see like there's similarities between the two, but then how different it is. And I don't know, like we say this in the episode, which one would we find scarier? And I feel like I'm more on the Enchantress side. Like there's just something about like I don't know. I feel like because with the Phantasma one, it's quite like consistent, right? Like every so many
Mm-hmm.
hours there's a haunt, like then there's a challenge or like another level. Whereas I felt like the pauses in between Enchantra actually made it more like, oh, you know? I don't know.
It's also sort of in Phantasma, I mean, aside from it being formulaic, like their whole goal is to hurt you, but it's just throwing things at the wall, or
Hmm.
like there's not one brain necessarily like strategizing. They're just like, these are the haunts, and hopefully it'll flush out
Hmm.
most of the competition. But in Chandra, your opponents are people who know you very intimately and can strategize against you and change their tactics based on how you're responding to them, like Grave. Like it, and so I do think like it is a different sort of fright. I The only reason I'd ever pick Enchanter over Phantasma is because I don't love like blood and things like that, so I fear I would like get really queasy and faint and just be done with it. But Enchantra isn't easy either. Also, being quiet and sitting in one space for so long. I'm with Genevieve. Like get me out of here. Like I can't. God, that was driving me nuts. But yeah, I think for sure, like Phantasma being sentient and then Enchantress still having a feel of being very larger than life, like the space itself, like the difference is truly just how we edited the physical like descriptions.
Hmm.
Phantasma, there's a lot more like I added a lot more again movement and like all five senses, whereas in Chantra we were physically seeing a space, and you get more of like this lush poetic sort of like detail, but like it's not moving, like it's her moving through it. So yeah, I think it's very interesting doing locked room sort of fantasies. I don't know why I did it to myself, because it's actually very hard to stay in one setting and to keep things
Hmm.
interesting, which is a big reason I ended up writing so much of Enchantra, because I was like, this is so boring. Like we have to get in here and finesse some of these things, um, because I was like, we can't just sit around
Hmm.
constantly.
Hmm. No, definitely. So one of our other questions is if you could write one major choice a character made in the series, or rewrite it, sorry, just to see how it plays out, which one would you pick?
Ooh. I actually don't know. I feel like just for fun, like what would have happened.
Hmm.
Um I mean, I think for fun, maybe Ophelia choosing not to tether herself to Blackwell could have been a really
Hmm.
interesting, a very different story. Or
Hmm.
if she had just been like, fuck it, actually. I don't I'm just gonna leave. Like if she had just listened to Genevieve, I think seeing how she had ended up back with Blackwell could have been really interesting, because it would have to have been very convoluted if she hadn't
Mhm.
gone inside voluntarily, because again, there's a slight fate aspect to them as a couple. And I think that could have been interesting. But yeah, I like the sequence of events as they happened, but I also try, just in general, when I'm done with something, my vow to myself is that I do not have to go back and engage with it or think about it. It's not,
Mhm.
it's permanent. It is
Mhm.
printed. There is no changing it. So I think sometimes people think like getting criticism, or it's why I think I have a healthy relationship with criticism now, especially because people who hate my book or swear the ending is the worst or doesn't make sense, or anything, there's no reason to dwell on that at
Mhm.
all, because I can't change it. Like, even if I
Mhm.
thought they were right. And so I sort of now just have this relationship of I can't rewrite anything. It's permanently what it is, and I do not have to think about it.
Mhm.
That's for everyone
Mhm.
else to think about. It's not for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to think about it. It's fine. It exists already. We keep moving, and I hope that the next
Mhm.
book I write is better, and then I hope the book I write after that is better, and that's all I can do, you know.
And I feel like we've been very fortunate to interview a lot of authors on here. Like it's a very like common thing that a lot of authors say is like ultimately you're writing the book for yourself, right? Because
Yep.
you're never going to please like everyone, and the
Yep.
stuff that people like comment on is crazy. Like, yeah.
It's also, it's sort of, it's like two minds. You're right. It's sort of, I have to write what I think is the best decision, because if we listen to every single criticism that came through, you have 100 critiques, you have 100 contradictions, right? Like, that's the saying.
Hmm.
And I think it's just so interesting, because sometimes I think when people say things, I'm like, that's so valid, and your experience with it is so valid, negative or positive. And
Hmm.
there's a little bit of the death of the author there that I think is important, so people can engage with art. Because if I cared very much about people only liking what I put out, then I wouldn't have chosen to put something out for public consumption. I think that's a very
Hmm.
Mhm.
big aspect of it. Like, I
Hmm.
don't own it anymore. It's not just mine anymore. However, sometimes opinions come through that are so wildly wrong. And I know that's like an oxymoron, but they're so bizarrely wrong that it's just like, I mean, what am I going to do about that? It's like, you truly didn't understand the material at all. But like, there's nothing I can do. And it's not my job or my right to sit there and like lecture someone about all the things they missed or maybe didn't understand in my work. That is just the experience that they get to have with it. And that's like, I think something that's always my new advice to people who want to be published, or like when they ask for advice on that front, is like, you just have to divorce yourself from that aspect of it. Like, it's not yours anymore, and you have to
Hmm.
let it go. Like,
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah. My favorite one is always like people saying Ophelia is not a girl's girl, and I just like, that's one of those things that I just think is really funny, because I'm like, what am I gonna do? I cannot convince you otherwise. You have made up, if you're saying that in general to me, you have fully made up your mind about that.
Hmm.
Um, and but like, obviously I have a very different opinion, because I think that's a bizarre take. But
Hmm.
I like, I can't do anything. So yeah, you kind of just gotta let it live.
And I think as well, like even in this particular genre, like tropes are very much a thing. Like a lot of
Mhm.
readers mainly read off tropes as opposed to a blurb, and like I think even when people are given exactly what is like outlined in a book, there's still gonna be comments made about it, or like I didn't like this and I didn't like this,
Yeah.
and like it's something. So I'm very new to the writing world, but like I've had comments where I had one recently that was like, I didn't like how much Welsh language was in it. And I'm like, but it's literally marketed as a romantasy with Welsh language. So it's kind of like, if we weren't in the room for like learning today, which is fine. I get that not everybody's here to like,
Yeah.
that's not what everybody wants. Sometimes you just want like a quick, like one and done sort of. It was like, maybe that isn't like what we came here for, you know?
Yeah. I think the only time I really comment on stuff, well, if I'm directly asked to like engage with it, like I will give you my opinions. Although, like, again, I don't think that should sway someone. Like, if they don't like I can explain how Like, I think needing to be a girl's girl, which I don't actually think people understand the definition of that as it was originally intended anymore. So that's a whole different conversation. But the idea that a female main character needs to be a girl's girl is very limiting for characterization in general. I also don't think it applies to Ophelia. I mean, she kills 2 men with her bare hands, but it's like, again, if that's how you're engaging with it, it's sort of like that's just what it is. It's the bean soup problem, right? Like, I'm giving you a recipe for bean soup and you're in my comments saying, but like, what if I don't like beans? And then I'm like, I can't do anything for you. Like, I don't like, that's not the conversation at hand. And I do think also, like, the time, like, it's very limiting when people are like, oh, this author just wrote down a list of tropes and shoved it into a book. And I'm just sort of like, I don't know a single author who does that. If that was the case, I'd put every trope I love dearly into every book I wrote, and that's just not the situation. The situation is that sometimes the perfect opportunity for a trope that I do love comes up, and I'm like, oh, this happens to fit in the narrative. I'll do it, or I'll subvert it, or whatever. And I think there's so many conversations just in general about, again, public consumption of things that I'm sort of like, at the end of the day, again, like, just pretend the author physically does not exist, and just engage with the art how you'd like to engage with the art, and I will continue to write the books that I want to write. And like, that's just like the agreement we're gonna have to make.
Yeah, 100%. I think, yeah, 100%. You are, it's just, I think, social media is a wonderful thing, but it does give a platform for a lot of things to be said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also why I'm sort of like out, because I'm like, I feel very heavily about, like, the reviews are not for authors, because again, it's in ink, it's done. It's definitely to, like, I think negative and positive reviews are so important equally, because it's what it does is every time you post one of them, it gets it closer to the correct audience. Like, the goal is to get it to people who will like it. Like, that is ultimately the goal. And sometimes someone needs to say all the reasons they hated something, so someone else can be like, oh, I actually like those things. Or someone who also hates those things to be like, oh, I shouldn't read this. Like, so yeah, I think it's such an interesting experience being, like, any sort of public figure, and definitely something I've been navigating over the last year, because everything sort of happened for me in what felt like overnight, even though it wasn't, but that's what it felt like. And it's just like, oh. Like, there are a lot of opinions all the time, so you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna post my cats.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
We have 2 questions that we ask every author we have on here. And the first is, what are 3 books that you will always recommend?
Ooh, I love this question. Okay. My first is Howl's Moving Castle. Everyone is going to roll their eyes. They're going to be so tired of me saying this. I know. I'm so sorry, y'all. That was very formative for me. Yeah. It was like, truly, I think, like, the first book I fell in love with. My grandfather read it to me when I was very young. And it's just like that sort of whimsical, it's not a hard magic system, which is interesting because I like a hard magic system personally, but I think there is something about soft magic systems that are actually so incredibly hard to do. And I think that sort of whimsy, like, as a child, shaped me a lot in the stories I like to write. I always recommend the Infernal Devices, the trilogy. I think that is such an incredible, like, the character work in that series is so good. I think it's one of the only love triangles that I've ever, like, truly loved front to back, like, so good for me. And I think that storytelling, like, that is a prequel series, but it feels like its own entire thing. And I think the craft of it, of, like, going, like, if you hadn't read any of the previous works in that world, like the chronicles, you still understand that series entirely. And I love that craft. It's also, like, what sort of made me be like, oh, I really would love to write third person. I think that's the sort of narrative voice that I like a lot. The idea that you could keep stuff from the readers but still be very personable. I really love Clockwork Angel. Like, I really think that was like a killer first book. So I do recommend that often. And then the third one is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley is a goddess. I worship at her altar. I think that book does so much. It's crazy. I also think it's very interesting to like people who maybe don't engage with the classics. Always so interesting for me to talk to them about it because it's a romantic period book, but it's not a romance. And so explaining the divulge and that sort of era of artistry is one of my favorite things. She's also literally the fucking father of science fiction. And I think she had such an incredible grasp on humanity and also the roles we play in it. Like, she knew that the only person who could physically make life and abandon it in such a way was a white man. And I'm sorry, that's poetic. Like, I love Frankenstein.
Yes.
So it's like I always go back to it because I feel like that is a book that anyone can read and enjoy from an entertainment standpoint, but also like a very like a really good political standpoint, as well as like a blip of human history. So yeah, anyway, I could talk about Mary Shelley all day. I love
I love
her.
it. When you
Yeah.
said, so I've got a jumper on right now, but when you said Howl's Moving Castle, I have a whole Studio Ghibli tattoo sleeve, so it is a very near and dear. Oh my God.
Literally. Yeah.
I'm obsessed. I can't get mine out. I'm like, it's there, I promise. Mine's just colour, but I promise. But I love Howl's Moving Castle. It's one of my favourites. But my majority of mine is Spirited Away, and
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Angel.
I have him as a dragon on my
Me too.
arm and
Yeah.
obsessed.
No, we're the same. Oh my God, are we the same?
Yeah. Yes. Are we the same person? Yeah. Yeah, and I could listen to you talk about Mary Shelley all day, every day. So, like, yes.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I should refresh my list, but I feel like those are always the ones that have lingered with me. Like Clockwork Angel, because everyone's like, why are you still recommending that series? But that's what actually genuinely made me want to be an author. Like, actually, I read that series and I was like, hold on. Like, I can create like whimsy fun, but that's also serious and attracts like a fandom. Like, that was important to me at the time. Also my Howl's Moving Castle collection. I have an arc, a signed arc. It's the most expensive book in my collection. It's right there.
Oh my gosh.
My husband got it for me as when I published my first book. That was my gift. And it's my prized possession. I'm always like, if there's a fire, you grab a cat, you grab a copy of Howl's Moving Castle. Like,
yeah.
Those are the two things.
I'm holding you to that standard, Sam, on my release day that I want a signed arc of Howl's Moving Castle. Make it work.
Yeah. Do something.
And so our final question is, what, if anything, are you currently reading?
I'm reading a couple of things. Honestly, I'm making my way through the entire Belladonna series so I can annotate this because Holly just came out. Adeline and I are very good friends, and I'm doing her Holly tour in the UK. So I'm fully refreshing. I'm doing like 3 dates with her in November. I'm very excited to be back in the UK and Europe in general. I love Europe. And so I was like, oh, let me go through and remember all the things. I didn't annotate them the first time around, so I'm having a blast. I'm also reading an early version of her adult debut, The Wretched Divine, which is, y'all, that is my book of 2026. It's so good. I love it. I genuinely, it's her best work yet. It's so good. I'm so excited to like get the public on it because I need people to talk about it with. And then I am also making so I'm rewatching The Vampire Diaries, and I'm also rereading them. So I'm making my way through them simultaneously because I haven't done that since I was like 13. And it's really fun. I love it. Yeah. But other than that, I don't read a ton anymore, or I read as much as I humanly physically can on deadline, if that makes sense. Like, I do read, but I don't, a lot of the reading I get to do is like for blurbs or for peers. So like when I do events with them, so I don't get to just sit down and be like, what should I read? As often, but I'm hoping next year is going to be like my return to like just binging. Because I have so much on my shelf that I am like ready to get to.
Yeah, I say this all the time to Sam, like the worst thing I ever did being a reader in terms of like for my reading was starting writing, because I literally like I do not have the time anymore, but I want to read everything, but I just
Yeah.
like, you know, I put myself into like lockdown, like turn off things on my phone so I don't see spoilers when stuff comes out. Yeah.
Yeah, that too. It's like, oh my goodness, I don't get to beat people to the spoiler part of it. But like it sucks because reading and writing goes hand in hand. Like good writers are good readers. And
Mhm.
I'm like, but with what time? So I have gotten better. Like I feel like once you're more into a flow, or like
Mhm.
when you have like really strict deadlines, it is easy to be like, I have to write this much a day and I have to read this much a day. And like just
Mhm.
honestly making it a part of your job, which sucks in some aspects, but in other
Mhm.
aspects it's like necessary, because then otherwise when would we read? Like I miss it. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's probably doesn't help being like best friends with me, because we'll at the beginning of every podcast episode we do a what are you reading? And I'm like, well, since last time we sat down, I've read 4 books. And B's like, okay, I'm still reading the book I was last week, so thanks for that.
Yeah, I've been reading the same book for 4 months. Sam reads like 15 books a month. I'm like, great, like
Yeah. That's
Sorry.
my friends, like we like my group chat, just my IRL friends who just happen to be readers, and they're always on something, and I'm just sitting here in the corner like crying, like I want to read that too
yeah.
one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was me. And not so much like this time has been so bad back in March when I was on full like just like deadline, and then all this stuff was coming out and Sam be like, oh, I got to this bit, and I'm like, can we not, like, because I have to wait like 3 months to read this now, like, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, but I agree, it's also, I find reading like I don't know, invigorates, is that the word? You know, like I read something and I'm like, oh, it makes me want to go like write. Not in a
Oh,
sense of like I'm gonna go write the same thing, but it just like, I don't know. Everybody started as a reader, right? So that's why we're
it's
all
the best.
here.
It's the best thing for your craft. That's like a proven thing, though. The
Hmm.
more you read, the better you write. Like 1,000%. I mean, it's even if you're reading stuff you don't like, it's very good to understand why you don't like it for
Hmm.
your own work.
Hmm.
But yeah, I always say like if you have like writer's block, you probably just need to read. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so it's tried and true every single time. I just sometimes have to be like, well, I'm not going to make that deadline because I need to read. I need to read a book.
Yeah, I need to read it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you honestly again for coming on. It's been an absolute dream having you. We've like eaten these books up and we cannot wait for, well, however many more you decide to write in this series.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Oh my gosh, I love doing a podcast.
So that was our interview with Kaylie Smith.
Safe to say I'm in love.
Honestly, what a fucking vibe.
She was so cool.
She's fucking class.
the coolest person ever.
I'm just like snaps for everything that she does and
Literally.
everything that she's written.
Snaps
The
Kaylee
woman
Smith.
that she is.
I know. And like, yeah, she was just fucking class. And again, it's not that I don't expect these authors to be class, but I think that's the first author we've like not interacted with prior to interviewing.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
most of the other authors we've like met or spoken to or like,
Yeah, but
yeah.
sorry, the lead up to this interview and like the making of this interview was all through, I just randomly reached out to her PA, or I can't remember how it happened, but like you said, like other authors, like we've spoken to them on Instagram or like had some sort of interaction with them, but
Yeah.
like we just reached out to her PA said yes, and then she came on the podcast. Like when she said she'd listened to Phantasma, we were like, what the fuck, we didn't know you knew who we were, like that's scary.
Yeah.
But oh my god, she's just a vibe.
She is really fucking
And
cool.
like she clearly is just in love with what she is writing.
Yeah, she's just cool as fuck. Anyone
Yeah.
who is that obsessed with Frankenstein and Mary Shelley is a fucking
Yeah.
person you want to be with, you know?
I want to be your friend.
Me
Like
too.
I think we'd have fun if we all went out together.
I want to have a pint with her.
Yeah. I think that we'd have a really nice time. She's coming to the UK soon.
Is she?
So
Yeah.
maybe we'll go see her.
I've got a feeling they're all sold out.
Oh.
And I don't think they come in near
No, they're not. I did look.
Oh.
They're not coming near us, but
I don't know if we can do a cheeky London trip again.
do you want to meet up for a pint in your hotel lobby?
Yeah, do you want to come? We'll go if you want to meet for a
Yeah.
pint. Oh, well.
If you were up for meeting for a drink, we would drive all the way to you. And we are not weird at all.
No, exactly. So enjoy, and next week... Oh, no, enjoy.
This is the end of the episode. So enjoy your day.
Enjoy your sleep. Have a nice day. You know, people are like, have a nice flight, and you're like, you too. Next week is Night in the Moth.
Yes. Buzzing.
Woo-hoo.
Absolutely buzzing.
The first time we've ever done a Rachel Gillig book. I've never read a Rachel Gillig book before because I've not read The Shepherd King duology.
Which is class.
I know I need to, but exciting. A bit, like, I'd say a bit different. It is within our wheelhouse, but it's a bit more hardcore fantasy than we, you know, than we're used to. But I'm excited to talk about it.
Yes, absolutely.
See you next week.
Bye.